When it comes to evaluating functions, what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the values that we know in the correct part of our function. So when you look at these problems, the first thing I want you to see is we've got 4 different functions, and they're all named with a different letter. We've got G and F and H and J. Then if you look down at the problems, you'll see this problem says G of 10. That means we're going to plug it into this function. It goes with this function up here. The function that's F of 3 goes with the function that's labeled F, and so on. So it's really important when you're doing these problems that you use the correct function to find your answer. Now, the other thing about this that we need to know, remember when we are talking about functions, whatever you have inside your parentheses is your x value, and what we're looking for is the output. So what that means is when it comes to evaluating these functions, if I'm looking for G of 10, I'm going to use this function, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this function, negative 3x plus 1, and I'm going to plug this value in for x. And I'm going to plug that 10 in for x, because remember, the number that comes inside our parentheses is our x value. So what I have is negative 3 times 10 plus 1, which is negative 30 plus 1, and I can see that my answer is going to be negative 29. So what that means is in the function g, when my x value is 10, my y value is negative 29. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to let you do the last 2 on your own. So in this case, we're going to be looking at function f. We want to know what f of 3 is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this x value, and I'm going to plug it into this function. So I'm going to start by writing this down. I know that f of 3 is going to equal this x squared plus 7. And remember, this is my x value, so I'm going to plug it in here. So for this function, I'm going to have 3 squared plus 7. Well, 3 squared is 9, and 9 plus 7 is 16. So that means in this function, when my x value is 3, my y value is 16. Okay. Now, the next 2 problems I'm going to let you do on your own, but I'm going to talk to you about what we see at the bottom of this worksheet. These problems work backwards. Okay. And so when you look at this, this is looking for our x value. Remember, what's inside your parentheses is x. What comes after is your output, your y value. So if you think about this, if g of x, this function right here, equals 16, what I can do is I can substitute this part of this function for 16. Because if you think about this, in this problem, it says g of x equals negative 3x plus 1. Up here, I see that g of x equals 16, which means I can replace this g of x with 16. So instead of g of x, I'm just going to replace it and substitute it. I'm going to get 16 equals negative 3x plus 1. Now, this is just a basic equation for us to solve. I'm going to undo my addition. So I'll get 15 equals negative 3x. And then I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. And I'm going to get x equals negative 5. So what that means in terms of our problem, remember, g of x, that means when my x value is negative 5, my output value is 16. Okay? So now, don't be tricked here. Okay? This next one, and I'm not going to do it with you, this says j of x. That means we're going to use this equation here for that one. And then the last problem says h of x. So when you plug that in, it's going to plug in over here. So even though they're kind of in weird spaces, don't let that fool you. All right,